Shout out to each and every one of you guys. What you need, you're watching my channel. This is a response to 68 Scrapbook to Wisdom concerning Deontay Wilder's rejection of the DAZN deal, as well as, my statement about legacy and belts, and also level of opposition, etc. All right. All right. So let's get into discussion. The first thing is, um, I don't think 68 gets my point when it comes to legacy. All of these guys were arguing the point that a lot of people in the Boxing Hall of Fame were champions, but as we already do know, a lot of them were not world champions. There were not a lot of them, but there were many who were not world champions as well. Not as much as those who were world champions, but there were. Which means, what was the criteria that allowed those people to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame? You get what I'm saying? So there's something that takes precedence over championships that gets people into the Boxing Hall of Fame. And if you look, it's usually because these guys, these people have faced someone which is considered by the public, one of the best fighters of the era, or, one of the top guys of the era that had done stuff. Okay? We call them a name. And they faced them at a time when they seemed to be, it was a good fight then. That person could have won, or that person was picked to win. Okay, so it's on that kind of level that we talk about things. Now, again, I look at throughout time. When we're talking about legacy and greatness, we're talking throughout time. So you can't say, well, you can't pick and choose and say we're talking about the modern guys and not the guys of the past and all that. You can't do that. And even so, like I said before, there are modern guys that did it, and there are also fighters who fought. Top tier guys, we're talking about the top guys who fought each other, and there were no belts involved. All right? And we talked about Canelo and Floyd, Floyd facing Mosley, Canelo facing Chavez Jr., Canelo facing Erislandy Lara. There were no belts involved. So my point really referred to Deontay Wilder in terms of people were saying this. They were saying that Deontay Wilder, he has 14 defenses of the title. He's supposed to be the longest reigning champion in the heavyweight division, and yet he has not unified. Okay, he hasn't gotten the other belts, and also for all of those defenses and for all of these doing that people say he should be in the Boxing Hall of Fame for, he hasn't even looked like he wants to get other belts and other titles. All right, and the reason they're saying this as a case was because he turned down the DAZN offer. All right, whether it's 100 million or 120 million dollars for 3 fights, which equals about 40 million for each fight, or let's say 60 million for 2 Joshua fights, 20 million for the Dominic Brazil fight, or if it's 100 million, which I was hearing is 40 million he turned down per fight. Okay, so I'm going to go into all those details because for some reason, a lot of people misunderstood what I was saying. Okay, I never said that belts are not important. And people keep on rehashing that. You're saying the belts are not important. I never said that. I said that the level of opposition you face takes precedence over the belts. Okay? You have guys who are called belt collectors. Gennady Golovkin collected belts. He was going after the belts. It didn't matter about the people. He was going after the belts. That is cool, but if you're not facing nobody that's worth anything, there's only a certain point or a certain level where that belt matters. All right? When people talk about Joe Lewis with his 24 or 26 defenses of his title successfully, that's great. And it was a record, and that's cool. But Joe Lewis also faced Jersey Joe Walcott. He also faced Billy Conn, etc., etc., etc. He faced names. Yes, there was a time when he was doing the Bum of the Month Club stuff. But he did face names. That's what validates the record. Otherwise, guess what? There are other fighters out there that have done records. Right now, Wenyan Menyothin, also known as Chaifund Sunrai or something like that, he is the WBC minimum weight champion. He has surpassed Rocky Marciano's record. He's surpassed Floyd Mayweather's record, right? He's 54-0 right now. Okay? But like Deontay Wilder, all he has is the WBC belt. And the guys he's been defending against, I think he has about 3 or 4 former world champions. He's never faced a world champion, except for the guy that he won the belt from. And He's not trying to unify. He's not trying to fight guys at the same level that he is. All right? What I'm trying to say is having the WC belt should mean something for you to have a legacy, to you to have greatness. This is what I'm talking about. Okay? And in terms of that, when we look at Deontay Wilder, he ain't got but 3 names. If you guys are listening to me carefully, you'll realize I'm not backing and defending Deontay Wilder on this. I'm showing you how much he ain't done shit. Yeah, it's a sort of accomplishment to have 14 fights, right? But everybody agrees with me. In fact, people even agree, even to the extent that he said there's only 2 names on his resume that are worth the shit. Now, why that's important for people to understand is because when Deontay Wilder first got the heavyweight championship of the world, he moved from, hundreds of thousands of dollars to finally cracking the $1 million mark. All right? He started to crack the $1 million mark. And he was paid that up until I think he faced Ortiz, I believe. The Ortiz fight is where he finally got paid, I think, $2 million. Okay? He's constantly getting paid $1.4 million. And it would go below or right up to 1.4. His highest payday was against Luis Ortiz. Why? Because the level of opponent he was facing before that wasn't deserving of a bigger payday. It wasn't a big attraction like the buzz around it. Okay? Listen to me carefully now. After the Luis Ortiz fight, if I'm not mistaken, he then had the Tyson Fury fight. They were guaranteed, I think he was guaranteed $4 million. Tyson Fury was guaranteed $3 million. But they pursed, because of the pay-per-view and all of that, he pursed something like $14 million. Tyson Fury pursed something like, I think it was $10 million, something like that. Now, the point behind it is, that's when the DAZN deal came in. When DAZN offered him $100 million for 3 fights, he was going to face Dominic Brazil for $20 million, and then he would have 240 million fights back to back against Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua he had the WBA, WBO, and IBF titles, and Deontay Wilder, had the WBC. Now, they had done negotiations before, and Eddie Hearn had offered him, this is not with DAZN, Eddie Hearn had offered him $12.5 million or something like that, somewhere around that ballpark, for an Anthony Joshua fight. Now, in negotiations, now the amount tripled. So what Deontay Wilder realized is he didn't want to be shackled down to DAZN, and rightfully so. In retrospect, that was a good move, because Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz. Now, he was supposed to face Jarrell Miller at the time. And Deontay Wilder was supposed to face Dominic Brazil. But imagine if Anthony Joshua had lost to Andy Ruiz. Now what happens? Does DAZN still continue to keep their contract and pay him? Now, the agreement was strong in that even if Deontay Wilder lost to Dominic Brazil, right? Even if he lost to Dominic Brazil, he would have gotten the Anthony Joshua fight. But nobody factored in that if Anthony Joshua lost, what happens then? Because now Anthony Joshua don't have no titles. It'll be Anthony Joshua facing Deontay Wilder for his title. Is Wilder still going to get his guaranteed purse? What happens to Anthony Joshua's purse? And so Deontay Wilder had a question. His question was, what is Anthony Joshua earning? And they couldn't tell him. Usually, the contents or the details of both fighters is made available to the public. The other thing is he's going with a subscription service, and he doesn't know if they'll pay him out or not. What I mean by that is sometimes promoters don't pay out. All right? They say they report certain figures, but the fighters don't ever get that stuff. Right? And you're dealing with a new subscription service that's new to America, that's flooding out this paper, flooding out this cash, right? You don't know what to make of them, okay? You don't know how consistent they are with things. So that's what he would be going into. And he would have been bound to them, and he would have been bound to facing Anthony Joshua, whether Anthony Joshua won or lost or draw. All right? So he decided, I'm going with what I know. And he went back with what he knew. Now, You guys say that was a duck. Maybe. Maybe it's a duck. Because he faced Dominic Brazil, which is mandatory, which he was going to be. He was going to get paid twice to face Dominic Brazil. But what happens when Anthony Joshua loses? That fight is not the same value. Which means they would have had to change figures, or they would be paying him out for a fight that would definitely have been less in value. All right? So in retrospect, I thought Deontay Wilder made the right decision, because if DAZN, I can't see DAZN paying out to Deontay Wilder $100 million after Anthony Joshua loses, paying him out all that same money, keeping their word and keep paying him out the same money for a guy that lost a fight and is no longer unification. All right? Now, once again, we all know Deontay Wilder, he's about the belts and becoming a unified, undisputed champion, as is Anthony Joshua. So when you guys made that statement, I wasn't saying anything about it. My point was, and it always has stood, all I'm saying is in terms of legacy, it's who you face and who you beat. He would have faced Anthony Joshua, so it would have worked for legacy, right? So that was not the issue. And since Deontay Wilder is stepping up in competition continuously, he gets more and more pay. The only difference here is what people are saying, oh, this is a payday he may never see. I think he'll see those paydays. I'll tell you why. One, as he steps up in competition and he faces higher and higher level competition, or what people perceive as higher level competition, he's going to get paid more. And he's going to see those paydays if he continues to win and beat high level competition. And if he becomes unified champion, which is my point, he'll see those paydays. He may even see higher. All right? So, once again, instead of trying to jump the boat, and he wasn't the A side. Obviously, it's Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua's the A side. They dictate what would have happened. All right? Just like how they're the A side against Andy Ruiz right now. And Andy Ruiz has to stick with what they tell him. And they're very reasonable. And let me just make it abundantly clear. Eddie Hearn is very reasonable in my opinion. Again, I don't have the view. I don't hate DAZN. I like what they're doing. I don't hate Eddie Hearn. I think he's a hell of a fucking promoter. Probably the best promoter in the business right now. And everybody's intimidated by him. And I also think that Anthony Joshua's a hell of a fighter. I don't think he's going to win the rematch, but he's a hell of a fucking fighter. And I hope he wins the rematch. I hope he proves me wrong and he gets back up there like a true champion. Okay? And he figures out Andy Ruiz and what he has to do with him. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I haven't really. When I see them, there's two things I'll look for. The weigh-in, to see what they look like in the weigh-in and their attitude and mentality, because I know Anthony Joshua's a fucking beast. Don't get it twisted. But the other thing I'm looking at is, I will also be looking at just before the fight what kind of mannerisms they look at. But it'll come down to the fight. But in my opinion, I think Andy Ruiz has a style that just it's a problem for Anthony Joshua. Now, I couldn't find this information. And see, there's a lot of information I'm trying to find. First of all, 68, I want to apologize for, and to the DT3, the Boon Man, and all the other people. I thought when I looked at the information given that it wasn't guaranteed that Deontay Wilder would face Anthony Joshua. But from all my research I just did a couple minutes ago, I realized, no, that was guaranteed, right? That was going to go down. So I remember somebody saying that somewhere that wasn't guaranteed. I guess that was not correct information. I was looking for it online just to see, through YouTube videos and stuff. I didn't find it. But the point anyway is, from my opinion and perspective, as Deontay Wilder continues to beat better and better competition, and by the way, I disagree with Get the Smoke. I do not think that Deontay Wilder is a Hall of Famer right now. He don't have no fucking Hall of Fame. There's no way, man. This man don't have no Hall of Fame career so far. It's just not so. And let me tell you why I say that. Like I said, level of competition, and not just how many defenses you have. Level of competition must mean some shit. Like Roger Mayweather would say, it's about who the fuck you fought and who the fuck you beat. In my personal opinion, I believe this very same thing. All right? You can talk about belts and all that shit how much you want. To me, the belts matter as much as the level of competition you faced. All right? Like I said, there are people who are belt collectors, and then there are people who are, all-time greats. Okay? I win a belt over somebody that nobody know who the fuck they are. All right, it's different to me winning a belt over somebody who has done something, has a lot of experience. It's like, why do you think Salvador Sanchez is so great? Because he beat Gomez, right? He beat Gomez. Gomez was somebody. Gomez was somebody. That's what made his legacy. You understand what I'm saying? And it separates you from the rest of people. Because you have to be separated. Because to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame ain't going to happen because you just won titles. I mean, if you win a lot, if you defended your title continuously for a very long period of time, like 9 years or whatever the fuck, yeah, we got to take note of that. All right? Even if your level of competition ain't that great. But you got to at least have somebody in there. You know, you got to have somebody in there. Right? You got to. So, that's how I look at it. And so this is where I'm coming from. So with Deontay Wilder, it's actually my criticism of Deontay Wilder, and you guys don't even realize it, is that he ain't really faced nobody yet. Okay? And people went into Chris Arreola. I get what your guys are saying, but Chris Arreola he was a titleist, but it was so many years ago. Yes, he faced against Bermane Stiverne as well, but didn't he get knocked out by Stiverne? I mean, he's a good fighter, but he ain't Luis Ortiz. He's a good fighter, but he ain't Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that's my criticism of it. And what I was saying to you guys is, as he continues now in this part of his career, this latter half of his career, he's going to be facing more names. You know, I don't expect him to facing as much duds. Sorry to call these guys duds. I should have respect for them because they do shit. They kick my ass. But the point is, guys of a substandard, we don't expect it. We know he's a throwback fighter, so we're gonna get some of them in between still. Anthony Joshua's resume is a hell of a lot better than Deontay Wilder's. I know Get the Smoke tried to debate with me about that, but come on, man. But the point is, it's a hell of a lot better. All right. He been matched tough. Eddie Hearn be matching his ass tough, and this dude ain't even got. Does he have 20 fights yet? I don't even think he has 20 fights yet. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, but I get the feeling that a lot of you guys got this animosity towards Deontay Wilder. And y'all like, you know, maybe y'all feel he's overhyped, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even trying to defend this dude. I know he's overhyped. I hear the people in the black community and the LBDVC talking about he's a Hall of Famer and he's a pound for pound boxer. He pound for pound #1. I hear the bullshit. Okay, he's over fucking hyped, obviously. But there's been negativity towards him so much that I try to address it and look at it and really assess him properly. All right? Gennady Golovkin and Deontay Wilder are one and the same. Gennady Golovkin had a white community behind him. He had the Filipinos behind him. Right? And it was overhyping his ass. Okay? And I got on the hype train too until EJ Boxing Live and Boxing Beats and Rhymes corrected me. Okay? Deontay Wilder, I agree. He's over fucking hyped. That goes without saying, okay? I get why you guys are mad at him, right? But when I'm talking, you gotta listen what I'm saying, because I'm not a dude that just talk out of my ass. I don't. I really don't. It might sound controversial, but you can pay attention to what I'm saying, because I really do say things that make sense. All right? And sometimes I do also say shit or say things that make sense, but they're not complete. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, back to what I was saying. So based on that, I am saying that even if he ducked, let's call it a duck for what it is. Y'all feel it's a duck. He ducked that $100 million payday. He wasn't getting $100 million for one fight. Y'all make it sound like he was getting $100 million for one fight. He was going to get $40 million for a fight, $20 million for Dominic Brazil. He got $10 million for Dominic Brazil, right? I get where you guys come from. I get it. I've seen it with other fighters. He basically ducked. That's what you're saying, because he got less for this fight here, and on top of that, it ain't look like he's gonna get $40 million in the future. But what I'm saying is, with the freedom he has, in other words, after the Dominic Brazil fight, he wasn't obligated to Showtime. He didn't have to fight on Showtime, which freed him up. If he wants to, right now his next fight is going to be on Fox. His next fight after that could be on ESPN. He got this one fight deal where he's flexible. He don't have to be tied down. Just imagine that this motherfucker was tied down to DAZN. So he had the Dominic Brazil fight. He got past Dominic Brazil on Showtime. Anthony Joshua comes and loses his fight, and guess what? Deontay Wilder is obligated to face Anthony Joshua anyway. And he probably could give him a blind and say, "You got to rematch. You got to rematch. You got to rematch Andy Ruiz, but my ass got to chill because I got a contract with DAZN. I can't fight. I'm tied down to fucking DAZN. What are we going to do now? You see what I'm saying? So he actually made a smart move where he's free to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. So even when Anthony Joshua lost, now he came in on Anthony Joshua. He's not a real champion and all that bullshit, which we know is bullshit. He's a real fucking champion, but you know it's trash talk and bullshit like that. Then he turns around and says, "But you know, even though Anthony Joshua lost, I want to face him. And then in this upcoming fight, I want to face Anthony Joshua or Andy Ruiz, whoever wins." So it's bullshit, okay? We know this bullshit. He's bullshitting us, right? But what I'm saying is that, given that, the decision he made actually was a smarter one. Because he would have been tied down to a fucking contract where I don't know if he would have been able to fight elsewhere. And even if he had to, he still had to face Anthony Joshua in the end, whether he was a world champion or not, which would have been fucked up. Because he wants to unify the belts, right? We talk about unification, right? Because the best guys... you guys said are world champions. So if for example he has to unify with a world champion, well, this is what happens. This is what's going to happen. So he would not have had the opportunity to face Andy Ruiz, which could possibly be the situation when all's said and done, right? The Dillian White issue, I don't like it. Even though I hear what people are saying about Eddie Hearn wanted to get Dillian White to face him, and if Dillian White beat him, he would have had 2 belts. Well, the opposite happened. Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua. Now they got to rematch each other. If Andy Ruiz beats Anthony Joshua, the reverse happened. Andy Ruiz could face Deontay Wilder next. See? And still, after if there's a lot of ifs here, but if Deontay Wilder beats Andy Ruiz, then he can still face Anthony Joshua. But the thing about it, he'd be the A side. He'd be the one offering money. You see what I'm saying? Now, having said all of that, and then he be the money man because he got the belts. See? And this is what I try to explain to people. The belts are important. I never said they're not important. Okay? And that's where a lot of you guys are missing it. I'm saying legacy is more important than that if you want to get into the Boxing Hall of Fame. And why does that apply to anything? Because Wilder ain't faced shit yet. This was my point. But everybody's keep on cutting me off and they not listening to it because they triggered. Okay, because they got their own feelings about Wilder, but y'all not listening to me, so you still haven't heard me out. And even 68 is responding, talking about belts don't matter. I never said that. All I said was, if belts matter so much, okay, then there shouldn't be guys with no belts in the Boxing Hall of Fame who never had a belt. And 2, the second point is, if belts matter so much, Devin Haney should be a world champion, like they say, and so should Jamal Charlo. Because we had guys on Gennady Golovkin who collected a belt without fighting for it. Right? Belts do not trump who you face. And Deontay Wilder is now facing people. And the more he faces people, the more his value will go up. Yeah, of course, the belts also cause your value to go up. And undisputed does mean something. But tell me this. Who goes into the Boxing Hall of Fame first? The Deontay Wilder that gets undisputed by facing a Dominic Breazeale, by facing a Bermane Stiverne. Let's say Dominic Breazeale had the other 2 belts for some reason. I don't know how it happened. Disqualification or something. Anthony Joshua was beating his ass and he punched him when he was down and he was disqualified. And so Dominic Breazeale ended up with all the titles, right? Got his ass beat by Anthony Joshua, but he ended up with the titles instead, right? Never faced Andy Ruiz. And Deontay Wilder faced Dominic Breazeale and knock him out in the first seconds of the round, right? He's undisputed now, right? Great accomplishment. Against who? His 3 fighters would have been Dominic Breazeale. It would have been Tyson Fury. And it would have been Luis Ortiz, right? Which you prefer? That Deontay Wilder? Or the Deontay Wilder that faces the winner of Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz and beats whichever one wins that fight in the rematch. Right? Hands down, the Deontay Wilder is the second one. Because why? Because, yes, being undisputed is great. But like I said before, there's an asterisk. Well, there's an asterisk on Terence Crawford because Who did he face? He faced Victor Postol, good fighter, good fighter. I say no, good fighter. He ain't no Anthony Joshua. He ain't no Tyson Fury, but he's a good fighter, right? And then he faced the other guy, the African dude, who, in my opinion, is a very flawed fighter. Very fucking flawed. Reaches in with his punches, doesn't bring back his defense properly. He's long and rangy, but if you got a little skill, you get him out of there. All right? I can't call him a good fighter. He a fair fighter, but he's not a good fighter. Okay? Those were the two. That's how he became undisputed. The other guy, he got 2 titles. He beat Ricky Burns. You gotta give him props for beating Ricky Burns and beating the Russian dude. Okay? You gotta give him his props. So you have to give him his props. But he ain't all that. He ain't all that when it comes to fight. But he got far with what he had before he was exposed by Terrence Crawford. Right? Peter Quillen. He ain't all that. His chin stay up in the air. He reaches with his punches. Right? He's a name, but he beat some people. But as to, can I call him a good fighter? Not really. Been exposed. So, and a lot of people said that. He all right. He worked hard and all that, but he's not really, right? They even say that about Wilder, right? Because Wilder, again, like my boy Intangible was saying, steps in and all that. So my point anyway, before it gets lost in all of this extra side commentary, is simply this. Deontay Wilder did not accept negotiations with Anthony Joshua for a unification bout, which in retrospect was the right decision. He'd been tied down to DAZN and Anthony Joshua and had to face him regardless of whether he had belts or not. He was free to have whoever he wants. And people are saying that he won't get those kinds of paydays. And I disagree, because his value continues to rise as he continues to fight and face better competition. Not belts, but competition. Now the belts will help him, because he'll have leverage. He'll be the A side in terms of his cash and stuff. But it's really the competition that's going to really build him up. And when his legacy is built up more and more and more, which is what he wants, he says he's going after legacy, his value is going to go up as well. And inevitably he will surpass that payday that everybody's talking about, if he can get past all his opponents, right? If he can get past Luis Ortiz first. Can't look beyond Luis Ortiz. Now, if Anthony Joshua beats Andy Ruiz, he still can have that fight with Anthony Joshua that was brewing on the horizon. If Andy Ruiz beats Anthony Joshua, he can still sit down and have that fight with Andy Ruiz, providing he gets past Luis Ortiz. So there's a lot of ifs inside of this equation, but most of these ifs have to do with Deontay Wilder getting past Luis Ortiz. Let's not forget that. Anthony Joshua was looking past Andy Ruiz, focused so much on Deontay Wilder, he lost his fight. Like Manny Pacquiao looked past Juan Manuel Marquez and got his ass knocked out. You can't look past the person in front of you. So that's my point. I don't think I have been dishonest in anything. Even if you guys call it a duck, which we could say because he faced Dominic Breazeale, the same Dominic Breazeale, you can call it a duck. I have no problem with that. But my point is, when he made his decision in retrospect, he made the right decision. He did. Because if he had done that deal and Anthony Joshua was going to go and lose to Andy Ruiz, he lost to Andy Ruiz. He did. And his value kept on going up. Deontay Wilder was offered, what did I say, by Eddie Hearn, 12 million or 14 million or something like that. And now it reached 40 million to face Anthony Joshua. 40 to 60 million. So what would happen down the road if Deontay Wilder keeps on winning? If he keeps on winning, going through Luis Ortiz again, going through Tyson Fury, and probably even getting a nice, good win, because we feel he lost that last fight, then his value is going to go up. He's going to show, listen, I rematched these two dudes, and look what I did with them. And then on top of that, his value is going to continue to go up as he continues to defend against good, solid competition, promising guys and guys who are really doing something and making noise in the heavyweight division. His value is going to go up if he wins and continues to win. You see? So, again, like I was trying to explain to the fans, and this is all I have been saying, is that he is continuously focused on, fans are constantly focused on the present, but you have to have a vision for the future. Of course, you have to look at it fight by fight. As a fighter, you can't overlook anybody. You're going fight by fight. But if you can continue to win fight by fight, then obviously his value is always going to go up for every single fight, especially if he's knocking the guys out or he's beating them convincingly. So that's the point I was making. That's it. That was all to it. Whether it's a popular point or not, I think it's a very fair point. All right. And because people they couldn't listen to the sentiment that I was making about what Deontay Wilder, because a lot of people got a bias against him for whatever reason. Right. I get it. All right. He's outspoken. He said things about Anthony Joshua. Some of you guys side with Anthony Joshua on that because he called Anthony Joshua not a true champion, etc. I get it. But at the end of the day, we all know Anthony Joshua is the real deal. Okay, he one of those killers out there. Right? And even if he loses to Andy Ruiz, it doesn't change my opinion about him being a killer. Right? Styles make fights, and sometimes your kryptonite is a certain fighter. And if he gets past Andy Ruiz, he's still a true killer. It just shows he's a true killer. And he's still a true champion, in my opinion. Okay? But if he loses to Andy Ruiz, his value will go down. It doesn't mean it's the end of his career at all. It doesn't mean that at all. But he working hard to make sure he beat Andy Ruiz and keep it on point. So I'm not even worried about that. All right. So having said all of that, this is my point. That's all to it. Right, 68. And right, other boxing fans, that's my point. And when you guys settle down, you calm your emotions down, that is not 68, because 68 didn't really listen to the whole thing, so he still didn't follow what I was saying. When you calm yourself down and you focus on what I actually said, you'll see that it makes sense. The only thing that I got wrong is that I thought that the negotiations wasn't guaranteed. So I was doing my homework for a little bit, and then I fell asleep, and then I got an appointment I got to go to in a minute, and there's a guy outside there who's calling me all the time, and I gotta address him, but he don't know I make money off of this, so this comes first. But yeah, my point being that that Deontay Wilder, when he turned down that negotiation that you guys are criticizing him so much for, it was actually a sensible thing he did. He's a free agent. He's free to go wherever he wants, ESPN, DAZN, whatever. Once you have a deal where you have to hold down a deal, like even the 2-fight deal, I understand the 2-fight deal, but let's say Deontay Wilder just knocks Anthony Joshua the fuck out the first fight, just blitzed him, right? Why do you need a rematch? It's definitive. Why do you need a rematch? Because he's a champion? He deserves a rematch? Not if you convincingly blitz him. So I felt like that, and I think that Deontay Wilder blitzed Anthony Joshua. I think Tyson Fury, well, I don't know. If Anthony Joshua goes to Tyson Fury's body, it could be interesting. But I don't think Anthony Joshua goes to the body. Not even Wilder goes to the body a lot. That's the problem with these two guys. Joshua, he doesn't go to the body, and Tyson Fury doesn't go to the body a lot. So that's the problem with it. But in terms of who would be who, I still think that Wilder would beat Anthony Joshua because of his athleticism, his right hand. I think Anthony Joshua would get hit by that right hand. Tyson Fury couldn't avoid it. I'm pretty sure Anthony Joshua wouldn't be able to avoid it, and I don't think he'd take it right. I think because he's just. But styles make fights, so we will have to see. And I think Anthony Joshua will inevitably face Deontay Wilder at some point, whether he's world champion or not. They're going to face each other. That's a certainty. But having said that, that's just my boxing analysis from just looking at how athletic Deontay Wilder is, how he cuts angles and stuff like that. But having said all of that, who knows? Who knows? Only until they match each other up and they face each other in the ring. Sad that in this day and age, it's a lot of posturing and politics and a certain kind of play. But I think in this case, in retrospect, looking back at it, I think Wilder made the best decision that he possibly could make. So that's what I'm just saying on that. You guys can leave your comments in the comment section below. I see some of you guys already like my video. That's nice. That's my take on it. That's where I stand. I'm very consistent in what I'm saying. I have not contradicted myself in any way. As much as biased and unbiased boxing thinks I have, I never did. but he never listened through, so he never understood what I was saying. I said belts collect dust. I did say that, and they do. What do? You have to keep on cleaning them all the time. They're trophies. That's what they do. They represent your win over someone to get to a certain level, or to attain their level. So for example, in a unification, we're on the same level now. I took your trophy from you. That's basically what a belt is, right? So it collects dust. They do collect dust. That's what they do. You can walk around with your WBC belt everywhere you go and all of that. You can do that too. But it really symbolizes the win over a certain level of opponent. That's all it symbolizes. And I personally think that if I'm facing names and people in my career, a lot more names than another guy who has belts and maybe it become undisputed, I think that I should be in the Boxing Hall of Fame before him. Because even though I never won a world title, or if I did win a world title, but not as many as that guy through many different weight classes or whatever, you should still look at who I fought, who I beat. That's the one common denominator, no matter, regardless of weight class, regardless of all the other trinkets and accolades that they have. That's the one common denominator you can look at. Who did I face and who did I beat? And you can look at that throughout the history of boxing. All right. Yes, obviously certain names you would not be able to face and beat in certain because they avoided you, whatever, through the history of boxing. But at the end of the day, that's the one thing you can look at. And then, of course, you can look at what I did in the ring. How did I perform in the ring? What I was doing in the ring. My skill set, how my skills were, how tested were my skills at a certain level of competition and that kind of thing. As well as my ring smarts, how I applied myself, my attitude, my killer instinct, how I wanted to win, and that kind of thing. All those kind of factors. I'm not saying that belts don't matter. Of course they do. They are all achievements. If you win a WBC belt and you were WBC champion, that's an achievement. And all the other three belts, right, that are accepted by the Boxing Hall of Fame. The Boxing Hall of Fame actually talks about undisputed. So of course it's important. But it does not trump who you face, who you beat. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It's an achievement, but it doesn't trump it. No way, no how. All right? And Canelo understood that, and Floyd understood that. Floyd understood it was about facing Shane Mosley. Canelo understood it was about facing Julio Cesar Chavez. He knew it was about facing Erislandy Lara. Everybody was calling him out. He's ducking Lara. Okay, fine. Let's face him. I don't need no belt. We'll do it at 155. Right? When Canelo faced Miguel Cotto for the WBC middleweight champion of the world, it wasn't because he wanted to be the WBC middleweight champion of the world. Since Cotto was a super welterweight, Canelo wanted to face Cotto. He was going after Cotto. The belt was a plus. That's why Canelo said, fuck the belt. Y'all want to behave like that? Fuck the belt. All right? Fuck the belt. I don't need a belt. I got Cotto under my name. Right? So, you got to understand that at a certain level, when you reach a certain level, that's why Floyd said, belts don't make me. I make the belt. WBC wants to be in my favor. WBA wants to be in my favor. They help skip and jump for me. We see it now with the franchise belt. WBC want to be in Canelo's favor because Canelo told them straight up, fuck your belt. He said, fuck your belt. I can go get another belt. Easy. And he went and got the WBO belt over Liam Smith. Now, I asked him a simple question. Is Leo Smith a good win for Canelo? Do we mention him when we were mentioning the names, the proper names that Canelo beat? No. No, we don't mention Liam Smith. We mention Floyd Mayweather. We mention Austin Trout. We mention Erislandy Lara. These are his proper wins. We don't mention Amir Khan. We don't mention him. We mention also Danny Jacobs, Triple G, and we mention Sergey Kovalev. We don't mention Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley was fighting him for the WBC title. We don't mention Shane Mosley. Why? We're talking about the relevant people, the people who are at the top of their game. The people, yeah, they had belts, but belts didn't make them. They made the belt. They beat this person and that person and this person and that person. They attained the belt because they beat this person. Or even if they didn't beat nobody because it's a vacant title or whatever, later on in defending, they beat this person. Or in unifying, they beat this person. That's what we talk about. That's why we talk about Canelo has, you know, the most stacked resume of all of the new guys, the new champions out there. That's why we call him pound for pound number one. Deontay Wilder's not pound for pound number one because he got no fucking person on his resume. All he got is Tyson Fury, and according to you guys, Luis Ortiz. I said Berman Stiverne. Y'all said fuck Berman Stiverne. But he won the WBC title off of Berman Stiverne, so I had to say that. You know what I'm saying? We talk about Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua beat Joseph Parker. He beat Vladimir fucking Klitschko. Yeah, he came out of retirement and all of that, but it's still Vladimir Klitschko, who gave him a hell of a fight. He faced Joseph Parker. Did I say Joseph Parker already? I did, right? He faced Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, all right? He faced Dillian White. We got to mention Dillian White because Dillian White making waves. Whatever y'all want to say, Dillian White ain't lost a fight since Anthony Joshua. And he been facing people. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta end this telecast because there's a guy out there who's calling me all the time. He don't know that I can't stop the telecast, but I'm gonna catch you guys later. I got some things to do. It's the names that matter. And no, fucking Amir Khan is not he did some stuff, but he ain't on the top of his game. He ain't facing the top guys. You get what I'm saying? We don't talk about Gary Russell Jr. and Leo Sanders. They're irrelevant. Why? Because they ain't really faced nobody other than Abner Mares, other than Lomachenko, other than Carl Frampton. Them two guys ain't faced nobody else. We criticize Gervonta Davis for being a world champion because he ain't facing nobody. Come on, man, people. We can't be talking about that. He's a world champion. So if he's a world champion, that's all that should matter. And he should just stay a world champion. Then. So that's my point. And then you guys can say, well, Anthony Joshua, then he should have gone after Anthony Joshua. Yeah, if he had gone after Anthony Joshua, this is the situation he'd be in. That's why I said he's free to do whatever he wants now. He's still free. So that decision was a smart one in retrospect. Because he would have been tied up in shit right now. With guaranteed purses, but he ain't getting the fight. And even if he gets the fight, he probably wouldn't get his guaranteed purse because the fight wouldn't make that kind of money. But y'all don't think about that, right? I'm just saying. So if y'all want to hate on Deontay Wilder, it's cool. All right? I ain't that deep a Deontay Wilder fan. And yes, I'm also an Anthony Joshua fan. I like Anthony Joshua. I really do. I admire him. I like Deontay Wilder too. I admire him. Okay? I like Andy Ruiz too. I admire him. Tyson Fury pisses me off, but I admire his boxing. Okay? And I still think that Tyson Fury is a really good fighter. I don't know if he's the number one heavyweight in the world anymore, but we can see. But my point anyway is this. Because I take way too damn long to develop this point. I could have done this in about 5 minutes, but it is what it is. We talking. My point is that he made, in my opinion, the right decision. You can call him a ducky, you can call him whatever you want, but at the end of the day, in retrospect, he made the right decision. He would have been in funk right now. He'd have nowhere to go. It would be up to Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn to free him up to face whoever he had to face in between. But he still would have had to face Anthony Joshua. He'd have been pegged down to Anthony Joshua, win, lose, or draw. He'd have had to take that fight. Right? And then he wouldn't have been able to get the undisputed that you guys talking about. All right? Let's hope that Anthony Joshua wins this fight so that it can prove me wrong. I'll be happy if I'm wrong. I don't have a problem being wrong. I always admit I'm wrong. Okay? Like I did to 68 Scrapbook when I realized Devin Haney ain't ready for no Lomachenko. He's not ready for Lomachenko. As much as I see the limitations of Lomachenko and what to do to beat him, Devin Haney ain't got that maturity to stick to the game plan. He just abandoned the fucking game plan when he knocked down the kid. He wouldn't listen to his dad, nothing. Okay? He hurt his arm teeing off on the dude and missing like crazy. All right? He ain't ready. He don't got that discipline. Like 68 said, you gotta have that ring smarts. You gotta have that ring smarts. you know. And his father was talking to him. He was listening to his father. Showed the immaturity. And so I realized he need a little more time. You know, even Luke Campbell could be a challenge to him, because if he dropped Luke Campbell, you know Luke Campbell brings it. If he get knocked down, he's still gonna bring it. Okay, and he don't care. He gonna tackle your ass. He tackle Lomachenko and shit. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. I'm gonna be back on it. But Luke Campbell don't play. All right, he show you he got grit. Okay, I'm not saying Devin Haney don't have it, but if you doing that shit that you doing, you're gonna lose that fight against Luke Campbell too, because Luke Campbell got footwork. He ain't the fastest guy in the world or nothing, but he got footwork. Just saying. You guys have a great one.